Howdy from College Station, Texas. I'm Mike Waddell.
And I'm John Hawkins. Welcome to our coverage of this year's Project MFG's Southeastern Conference machining competition.
That's right, John. This year's competition is at Texas A&M. We have 4 teams competing to be the champions.
And we have Dan Roblitz from Haas on the shop floor. Let's go to him to tell us a little bit more about the competition.
Behind me is the trophy for the SEC machining competition. Last year, the winners were the University of Auburn. We're going to see this year which school takes this trophy home as the winners of the SEC machining competition in 2025 for Project Manufacturing.
Thanks, Dan. We'll be checking back in with you throughout the competition.
But first, let's get down to it and meet the teams for this year's competition.
Getting that trophy would mean a lot to me, my team, my school. It adds a little bit of pressure, but I think it's cool that we get to show off what we have here. You know, not a lot of schools get these types of facilities, so I think this is pretty cool.
I know there's a lot of good teams here. I'm just a freshman, but I've heard a lot of good things about the people we're competing against, but I think we're gonna go out there, have fun, and take our time and hopefully do a good job.
We came in second last year. I believe we got second the first year, so it'd be really awesome to finally bring home the trophy.
The fact that we only have 2 people, we do believe that it will be an advantage in the fact that we will have less moving parts and we communicate pretty well, so it'll be beneficial to us.
Mike, it'll be interesting to see how the different teams tackle the project.
I completely agree. I'm excited to see how this 2-person team works out this year. The competition started and they're machining away. Let's check in with Dan and see what they're making this year.
Hey Mike, we're back out here on the shop floor where the competition's firing up for the SEC Machining Nationals. I'm out here with Mark Bosworth from Project MFG. Mark, can you tell us about the design and why this is going to be challenging for all the teams competing today?
So the design, basically it's 5 parts, and what we've done is gave the contestants and the teams 3 parts to bring with them. So about a month ago, we sent them the models and the prints, and the 3 parts is the brace, the base, and the shaft for that. And then when about a week out, there's an internal gear in here that's the one that's spinning. We gave them the model for that, so they could bring that program with them, but they have to machine this at the contest. And then the crank, as we call it here, the handle or the crank, that was a surprise part that we also gave them, that they had to program and machine that here. So they're machining 2 parts here also. It's very challenging for the students.
Okay, thanks Mark. It sounds like the competition is going to come down to some tight tolerances to determine who the winner is today. Back to you, Mike.
That's right, Dan. The winners of this year's championship will come down to micrometers.
That's the collegiate gear looks extremely complicated. Once the teams finish machining their parts, they'll take it to Chris, our Zeiss metrologist, for measurements. Then they'll take their part back and they'll assemble the crank box. Once the crank box is assembled, then they take it to the judges for review.
And then we'll crown a winner. And all of the machining this year is done on Haas equipment. Let's go down to Dan and hear a little bit about how this is powered by Haas.
The Gene Haas Foundation is a huge supporter of programs like Project Manufacturing that help bring students up into the engineering and manufacturing industry, because we really need more people designing and making things in the United States.
That is so true, Mike. Contests like this are about friendly competition, fun, and learning.
Yeah, one of the most challenging parts about this kind of a competition is for the competitors to bridge the gap between their engineering education and actual physically machining the part.
Yeah, it's one thing to design a part, it is a completely different beast to have to manufacture it.
I could not agree with you more. And I'm getting word that the competition is completed. Let's go down to Dan and have him tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, Mike, so everybody finished their parts. Every single team finished within time and has all of their parts assembled. Let's check in with the teams and see how they did.
We got 5 total parts. You can see we get a rotating motion whenever we turn the crank here.
We have no real tolerance issues that we know of yet. I guess we'll see when the CMM report comes back, but yeah, it looks good to me.
I think we're surprised that it went all together, but it works.
I feel like it turned out pretty good. Our bearings all fit really nicely, so that was good for us.
Great, all right. Back to you, Mike.
It's all up to the judges now. John's made his way down to the shop floor, and once the decision has been made and the judging is complete, he will be announcing this year's winner.
The 2025 Southeastern Conference champion is, as Christopher Walken would say, more cowbell, Mississippi State.
Well, there you have it. This year's champion is Mississippi State. They've been preparing for this all year. Twice now they've come in second place, and this year they're taking home the trophy. Let's go down to Dan, who's with the coach of the Mississippi State machining team, Ross Smith.
How do you feel about your team today and the win and taking home that trophy?
Well, I think it's very simple. We are the national champions and Hail State.
All right. All right. You heard it from the winners. Congratulations, Mississippi State.
Well, Hail State. Welcome back, John. We have a new champion this year.
That's right, Mike. Congratulations to Mississippi State. And a big thank you to the teams who also competed this year. And a special thank you to Texas A&M Engineering Experiment Station for hosting this year's competition.
They did a great job. Well, that concludes this year's competition. Thank you very much for tuning into this year's broadcast.
And we hope to see you next year at Project MFG Southeastern Conference Machining Competition.
Thank you.
And good night.